Our top story tonight, the shameful actions of the Obama Justice Department. We've known from the very beginning that the DOJ has become the political arm of this White House. They proved that again this morning when they initially scrubbed references to Islam from Omar Mateen's 911 calls, and then they backtracked. Yet Attorney General Loretta Lynch still wants us to believe she won't politicize another high-profile investigation. Of course, that's the criminal investigation into Hillary Clinton's email scandal. That despite the fact that her boss, President Obama, says Clinton should be president.
The investigation into the State Department email matter is going to be handled like any other matter. We've get that. They will follow the facts and follow the evidence wherever it leads and come to a conclusion.
So does this create a conflict of interest for you?
No, this is not a conflict for me or for the department or for anyone.
Well, joining us tonight, the president of Citizens United, David Bossie. David is also the Maryland GOP committee man. He'll lead the state's, the Maryland committee man. He'll lead the delegation at the convention in Cleveland. It's good to have you with us. Appreciate it, David. Loretta Lynch today. First, your reaction to what I have never seen anything in my career that approximated what we witnessed today. Have you?
No, look, this is an outrage. Loretta Lynch should resign. People should be up in arms that this woman is still the Attorney General. She should have appointed a special counsel to investigate the email scandal, and now what she's doing to try to cover up for what happened in Orlando, the tragedy that every American needs to understand, the threat that is radical Islam. They're trying to hide that from the American people. It is more dangerous than it is incompetence.
Dangerous, incompetent, arrogant public officials at work in whether it be the White House or whether it be the Department of Justice or the FBI itself, because they were also involved in this decision to censor rather than to respect the public's right to know. This conflict of interest that she denies, it is so patently obvious that the DOJ is politicized to the point of being an active political institution.
Absolutely. Lou, we've visited about this before, just recently, when it was uncovered that many high-level officials at the Department of Justice are major Clinton donors. Loretta Lynch herself owes her very career to Bill and Hillary Clinton. Bill Clinton appointed her to the U.S. Attorney's job, her first real high-paying, high-level job as a prosecutor in New York in the 1990s. Look, this is all part of the big problem that we have as America, this revolving door, this conflict of interest that is inherent across the board in this current administration.
You know, when we hear the word cronyism, most people are accustomed to thinking of it as capitalist cronyism. This is this is left-wing cronyism. This is corruption. It is a culture of corruption that has been firmly established by this administration over the past 7.5 years. I don't know what it's going to take to break it. But let's just share with the audience some of what happened today and this decision to censor the 911 calls in the midst of the country's worst mass shooting. They reversed the language from Mateen, actually removing the name Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi. They took out the word Islamic State, I mean, and every other Islamic reference. This is as if the Department of Justice was supporting radical Islamists at the expense of the American citizens.
And it goes beyond, Lou, what you just said is exactly right, but more than that, this same radical Islamist, mass murderer, called a radio station and fundamentally said the same thing.
Right.
So they have it on tape, and they could release that at any time, and I think they have. So the government is trying to censor something so the American people don't see it and trying to manipulate the news coverage of it. And that's what we don't do here in America.
If Loretta Lynch, the Attorney General, if the FBI under the direction of Jim Comey will stand still for this, actually perpetrate this, what can we expect of the integrity of both institutions when it comes time to decide about whether to prosecute its recommendation and whether or not to meet that recommendation, actually a charge against Hillary Clinton?
Yeah, these are two different things. So let's just talk about this tape. First of all, I have not heard
I'm
the
moving
FBI
on from
director.
the tape. I'm talking now about the integrity.
But we haven't heard, and I haven't heard Jim Comey say, the FBI director, say anything about his position on this tape. So I'm interested in coming days to see where the FBI director was on that.
Silence is a position, David. I'm sorry. It's a position. I know there are a lot of folks who really have a lot of expectation of this man's capacity, his integrity.
And I'm one of them.
And I know you're one of them. But when you are sitting there in the face of silence with something like this being carried on, I don't know how you could stand silent anywhere in that department.
Look, I wouldn't be able to, but I got to tell you, we're going to see, and it's going to come out where he was on this position. So it's very important. But let's go to the next step, which is the pending investigation. There needs to be a grand jury. There needs to be an independent counsel, an independent prosecutor.
They haven't even talked to Hillary Clinton. As far as we know, they have not brought any action against anyone involved in this. Now we've got the young IT expert, so-called, who established the personal server for her email system, who's going to be called on to testify, but he will refuse to testify despite being offered immunity. Where are we headed here, David?
You know what? They're playing beat the clock with us, Lou, and you and I both know it. This is something that they want to get past November, because if it gets past November, it is gone. Because if she wins the White House, we all know what happens to this investigation.
You've got more Republicans and conservatives in this country fighting Donald Trump every day on pure nonsense than they are about the issues that matter most. I don't hear any of them talking about the economy, the jobs that haven't been created, or the corruption of the Clintons, the corruption of this administration, and the absolute dejected segment of our population that can't even find a job.
Look, the chairman of the Judiciary Committee in the House or the Senate or the Speaker of the House should be, or the Senate Majority Leader should be demanding that the Attorney General and the FBI Director come to Capitol Hill to answer these very questions. And they need to do it right now.
David Bossie, good to talk with you. Thanks for being here.
Thanks, Lou.